Hello, I'm Richard, and this is Northeast Football Media. Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to Northeast Football Media. This is the latest edition of the Focus on Grassroots. And tonight I'm going to be speaking to Jamie Cairns, and he's the chairman of Rutherford AFC. Welcome to the channel. Are you okay tonight?
Yeah, all good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Just really wanted to start with maybe a little bit about yourself, really, how you first got involved in grassroots football and how you got involved, obviously, at Rutherford AFC as well.
I actually started my football career at Rutherford and my coaching career, and wound up as chair as well. So it's been quite a really good experience for me, I suppose. So I started playing football at I was about 12, 13-year-old, I think. Started with Rutherford, and it was from then I pretty much hooked to the club, really. You know, it was that lovely atmosphere, that family atmosphere where everyone wanted to be involved, everyone's willing to help each other, and then I suppose it grew from there to actually coaching a football team. I think I was coaching at the age of 14, because that was the club ethos. You know, get young people into coaching the younger ones before them. So that's what I got involved with, and it sort of grew from strength to strength. I won some quite prestigious awards as well through the club. You know, I won Coach of the Year for Durham FA, Young Volunteer of the Year for the UK off the FA, and so some really, really positive experiences through the club, and which have been nationally recognised. So it's been a really, really nice experience, I suppose, from such a young age. And I came back as chair. I think I'm into my 2-year tenure, and it's been a real good experience. I think I'm probably one of the lucky ones where I've never had a negative experience with football, and I think I owe that a lot to Rutherford, really.
Fantastic. And obviously your current role you're the chair. Do you run a team as well, or is that just the role that you've got?
No, so that's just the role I've got, which I'll go into a bit later on. But I'm still a player. So I still very much play senior football within the club, and help mentor, I suppose, some of the younger ones coming through to senior football. But no, I don't run a team at the moment, unfortunately. Just time with work and things like that is just it is a lot of strain on coaches, really.
There definitely is. Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit more about the club then. How long has it been going, and how many sort of teams are there within the club and stuff like that?
So we're actually one of the oldest clubs in the Northeast, going back in 1878. We started as a school team, believe it or not, in the Westgate Road of Newcastle, and we moved over to Gateshead in 2005, I believe. And I was, again, a bit of a proud moment. I was one of the first to join as a junior, when Rutherford moved over to Gateshead and Lobley Hill. And we started off literally, I think it was a senior team and a couple of junior teams and a girls team. And it was very, very small. And like I mentioned before, it was that welcoming atmosphere where everyone wanted to be involved. And it was very close. Everybody knew each other. But I think what the chairman at the time realised is that actually there's a massive need in this area, and this is where we can grow it. And before we know it, we're sitting on 30 odd teams, and we're catering for all ages and abilities, and that's where we are now. We're pushing on 30 teams. We cater from literally 4 or 5-year-olds up to over 40s, to any ability and disability, and women and girls, and so we're a fully inclusive club as we stand today. It's just it's a massive infrastructure, I think, and I think it tells that through the history of the club, really.
No, that sounds really good. And what about the facilities? Do you own the facility, or does the club own the facilities that you use, or is it rented off the council or school?
Well, both really. So we lease the land off Gateshead Council. So we've got a more or less a 25 or 50-year lease. But we've got really state of the art facilities. So we're really, really fortunate where the the club chairman, the treasurer, and the trustees at the time laid a really good foundation for the club. You know, I think we're part of a £1.4 million grant from the Football Foundation to lay a 3G pitch, a clubhouse that was catered for the amount of teams that we had. So we've got really good facilities, and we've got a fantastic groundsman as well who works tirelessly hard to keep the pitches on top. Because you can imagine the amount of teams that we've got. You know, it takes a lot of work to keep our pitches going. And so we've got fantastic facilities, and it's it's one of those things where, you know, it's great that we've got them, but obviously they're very costly. And obviously the current climate, you know, it's a case of, well, it's hard to pay for them, but, you know, when everything opens back up, we'll be fine. And we're really, really fortunate that, like you say, the trustees before for myself and colleagues now laid that foundation and the basically future-proof the club, I guess. And so we've got really good facilities, and I suppose that's about it.
No, fantastic. Yeah, no, that sounds good. From a personal point of view, what do you sort of enjoy most about? I mean, you've probably touched on it a little bit. What do you enjoy most about being involved with the club?
For me, it's seeing the full picture, I suppose. You know, like I joined as a junior, and must admit, so the way Rutherford is, like I mentioned before, it's a fully inclusive club. You know, it doesn't matter about your ability. You know, it doesn't matter if you're gifted and talented or you've just starting out. You know, it's a place where you can actually come, feel welcome, and that was me as a kid. You know, I wasn't the greatest of footballers. You know, I could run all day long. I could run pretty fast, but actually, I'd never really kicked the ball. And through guidance, I was able to actually play good football, play to a good standard. And now that I've went through the full ring of it, you know, sort of from a player to a coach, and now to board of trustees, to a chair, and actually seeing all that happen again for other young people and for other coaches, and just seeing that atmosphere kicking around, that is just really fantastic. And it's one not to be taken for granted, really.
Yeah, I think that's what the last year's taught us, especially, hasn't it? I think not to take anything for granted, really. But yeah, no, you're right, definitely. Sort of so far, then, what's been your best sort of moment then at the club?
Best moment, I guess for me, is being approached by the board of trustees to come back. For me, I think Rutherford's always played a massive part of my life. You know, like I mentioned, the volunteering and of being because what I do professionally is very sport oriented. So I offer sport education, and for me, that's where I started. You know, I had a person pushing me, obviously, who was the chair before he sadly died and passed away. He pushed me to say, no, you should be doing this. You should be volunteering. You should be doing X, Y, and Z. And he did that for a lot of young people, a lot of young coaches, you know. And I couldn't sit and stand back and say, actually, I wouldn't be where I was today without that push. And so the fact that actually I can come back and actually really instill that ethos, what I was taught, and, you know, and be that peer mentor, that's probably a really great moment for me. And say, well, actually, I'm appreciated, and I'm back where I belong, really, with a club and a drive to do better. So yeah, that's probably one of my best moments, which is obviously it's what any young footballer, you know, footballers professionally speak about playing for the country. You know, what better really feeling for somebody who's fanatic about football to be asked to be chair of the football club that they grew up in. You know, it's fantastic. You know, a really honourable moment for me.
Oh, no, yeah, fantastic. Yeah. In terms of the sort of club itself, I mean, does it get involved in quite a lot of community activities? Obviously, you're a big club in the area. Do you do a lot of stuff in the local community?
Yeah, well, again, that's what the club was built on. You know, it was all about community involvement. You know, getting guys from the local community playing football. You know, so we do a lot. You know, I mean, we've got groups from the Rainbows who pre-COVID came in, used the facilities to host the meetings. We've got a veteran group on site as well who come along, and so the veterans, which are the sort of their own identity, but they use our facilities. You know, they come around doing bits and bobs. You know, keep themselves active and keep themselves, doing nice community things. You know, whether it be doing some of the horticultural things, or doing some bit tinkering on the building, doing some painting. You know, it's been really good. We do the soccer tots for the very little ones. You know, 4 or 5 year olds, just that introduction to to football. We are now starting to do more disability as well. So we did historically do a lot of disability football, but we sadly that didn't really take off the last few years. But we're starting to do more of that now. And the one thing that we've sort of developed especially over COVID, really, is working with disadvantaged youth groups who have emotional and behavioural issues. From different schools and things like that, because school education, school football, and things like that have still been able to go ahead. So we've been offering our facilities out so that the guys that can, they might not be able to deal in the classroom, but they can run around a football field and be absolutely brilliant, and and then that's their release. That's what they need, and we've been really fortunate to offer that space for them, really.
Oh, fantastic! That's great stuff there. I mean, you did touch on it a little bit earlier as well. Obviously, to run a club, it's a lot of expense involved, isn't there? With pitch fees, equipment, and everything else. I mean, first of all, how much of a challenge has that been for your club, and how have you kind of got around that challenge and managed to keep the club in a good state financially?
Well, I think I speak for all clubs. It's very, very hard. It's especially the current economical climate. I mean, we've got fantastic members. I think you can't take anything away from them. Obviously you pay your subs and that keeps things going, but it's nowhere near enough to obviously run the clubhouse and all the rest of it. So you're constantly fundraising. Doing nights in the club. I think the club have been doing really well on events such like Halloween night or bonfire night and just events like that will keep with ticking on, and and all those that gets reinvested into the club. But one big thing is that what we've neglected over the years is actually having charitable status. So being going for funding opportunities where actually we could pay for argument's sake, women and girls set of strips. There's funding out there to do that, where we haven't done that in previous years. Where that's where we're starting to get to. We're starting to get ourselves reorganised to go for those type of things. And I'm sure I'll speak about the full sector of leisure as well. They've been hung out to dry a little bit when it comes to the government and COVID. So yeah, which I don't want to get into a political debate, but made by sport of their singing clubs in crisis, banging on the drum, saying, "Yeah, government, you could have done a little bit more, a little bit earlier." And but it comes down to money, doesn't it? Really, it's what goes in budgets and things like that. And yeah, I think like you say, gyms, boxing gyms, other sports and stuff like that have literally been hung out to dry. I think, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it is, and obviously grassroots football suffered along with a lot of other things as well. Have you had a lot of dealings with the local FA, and have they been really kind of helpful to you, obviously, especially through the last year or so when things have been difficult?
Well, we're really fortunate that we've got our secretary's got a really good relationship with our FA. So in terms of the FA and our COVID officer as well, has got a really good relationship with our FA. So we've had a positive experience, I've got to say. When we've saved, for argument's sake, like this time round, the FA released the guidance, I think it was yesterday or maybe Wednesday. Straight away, our COVID officer was on the phone saying, right, what do we need to do to get the risk assessment up to date? And then that was banged straight out to the coaches, So we've had a real good positive experience in terms of our FA. And that comes down to individual relationships, I think, really. Like you say, the COVID officer and our secretary has been really, really good.
No, that's good to hear. Sort of on a more personal level for yourself, then, if you could change one thing about grassroots football, what would that be for you?
There's a lot, I think.
I think a few if you want. That's fine. What sort of things would you like to see changed?
I think the main one for me really is it's that pressure on kids to perform. I think especially I seen a release yesterday or maybe the day before where it was more or less saying no wonder we haven't got any great talent coming through on England. Obviously, England were playing San Marino on Thursday, and I think we'll just put too much pressure on kids to become world beaters before they've actually learned the game, before they've enjoyed the game. And I think that's that stigma of, oh well, he has to be X, Y, and Z so that he can go and get into Sunderland or Newcastle Academy, which is obviously our local clubs, and then they can't play for any other teams apart from that academy. And I just think, I think just the pressure is the I think it gets to kids more than people think, especially teenagers. You know, I can only speak from my experience from friends who've been in the academy system, you know, where they've took a bit of a bad turn, or because the pressure is great. Do you know what I mean? If you're 15-year-old saying actually you could be worth millions, and you know you need to keep this, that, and the other, you can't do X, Y, and Z, and you have to keep yourself out of the way of these social groups, and it's a lot of pressure. Do you know what I mean? And I think that in itself is quite. We talk a lot about mental health. Especially now, obviously being a game changer and things like that. I think that people forget, like, kids do suffer with pressure. You know, they've got pressures at school, pressures for exams, pressure to do X, Y, and Z, and then football's there that we enjoy. Football's there as a release, and I think people are quick to say, "Oh, he's really good at football. I can see him at a Northern club. I can see him at a Northern Lions club. I can see him doing X, Y, and Z." That's the big thing. I think if people just stripped that back and say, let them play football, let them enjoy, let them learn the game, let them learn the mistakes. Then when they start hitting towards under 23 senior level, then that's when actually we can say you could be something, you do something really. I think that's probably my thing. I think I would change a bit. I think.
No, that's a sensible thing, because there's a lot of people have said similar things actually about that. So obviously it is an issue that maybe needs to be looked at a little bit. I mean, obviously I know we did touch on it before about the lockdowns and stuff like that. I mean, what's been the biggest sort of impact at your club over the last year or so with all the different lockdowns that we've had and all the restrictions that there's been?
Frustrations, I want to say. I think it's divided the club a little bit, and I think it's divided other clubs a little bit as well, where, you know, the guidance come out from the government saying, "Oh, actually on X date you can now go and play football," but the schools weren't even open, or you know you could go play football, but you couldn't go meet your gran at a house, and then you get teams that say, right, well, we want to do X, we want to train 2-3 nights a week. Well, actually, you're not even at school yet, and I think that's not anybody individual's fault. It's just what the guidance has been set out. And I think football was started a bit too premature, which is why we're now suddenly we're going to come out of lock. We're going to play football in 2 weeks, and now they're trying to get their leagues wrapped up by sort of mid-June. It's a lot of football to be played. Again, going back to the stress thing, you've got managers saying, right, I need you out running, I need you doing this, that, and the other, to play 5 or 6 games. Where there's no recovery there, and I think it's that's the biggest thing. I think it's like you say, is that divide where the lack of clarity. I think just let's say, like I use boxing as an example because I'm a keen boxer. I run a boxing club as well. We didn't restart, we didn't do anything. England Boxing said we're not doing anything, so just don't open. I think the FA, in hindsight, could have done something very similar. I know everyone's keen to play football, and don't get us wrong, I'm the biggest one. I can't wait to go out and kick the ball around with the lads, but just take time, and that's what it needs. And then when we're coming out of this lockdown, we've got clear steps. The last time we got out of lockdown, we didn't. We just said, right, go out and kick a ball. So I think hindsight plays a lot of things, but it's just, let's just take with time and think about safety and just get it right this time, really.
Yeah, I think there was a lot more uncertainty last time, wasn't there, when we came out of lockdown? And this time there does seem to be a little bit more of a, like you said, a pathway out of it. So hopefully now, when football restarts, it can continue. Hopefully,
well, that's it. I mean, the great thing I think through this period is that the FA and government have obviously thought, actually we need to stage this one out, which is actually, it's been quite good for us, whereas we've been able to rethink our structure. So at the moment we're recruiting development officers. We're looking at key areas where we need support. So we're recruiting 5 development officers to actually support our teams across 5 divisions. You've got your senior section, your women and girls, disability, small sided game and 11-a-side game. So getting key people that actually want to help develop not just a team but a division. Help all those teams and be a united front really, and so that we're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and that we're and we're just sort of wanting to drive the club forward and obviously improve and sort of develop the players and coaches around it. So for us, it's give us a little bit of breathing space here, right? Where do we want to take the club in the next sort of 2, 3, 5 years? And that's pretty much where we're at now. It's that development stage of actually we've had a bit of breathing space. There's nobody playing football. Trustees, what can we do? And the development roles that I've just mentioned is a key part of that. And we're going to see some really good developments, I think, next season, which when we envision everything rolling out. And so hopefully we'll have some really good football and some really good sort of memories to make on the back of this, really.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, if anybody was interested in getting involved in those development roles, how would they have to go about doing that?
So the easiest thing is have a look on Facebook. I think go on the Rutherford AFC Facebook page. You've got my contact details on there. If you go on the Northeast Facebook pages, we're sharing them on there as well. So yeah, just social media is the best thing, isn't it? It goes far and wide, and that's the whole idea behind it. And so just anything, pardon me, have a look on there, and just even for an informal chat. That's all it can be. I'm sort of interested. Well, yeah, let's have a chat and let's see where we'll go.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, do you have like a website for the club as well that maybe people can find?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a long-winded one. So it's rutherfordafc.co.uk. But yeah, you can get on there, and it's got my contact details there. It's got Sarah, who's our club secretary, on there as well, which you can speak to, and they'll be direct you anywhere really.
Fantastic. I mean, we'll hopefully say, you never know, someone watching this video might be interested in getting in touch with you and maybe to help you out on some of those positions, which would be great. I mean, finally, obviously, football's coming back, like you said, next week or so, isn't it? It's all coming back, which is going to be great. I mean, did the club have any special events planned, or are you just sort of looking forward to just getting football played again?
Yes and no. So we've got a date in the diary for, I think, the back end of the summer. More or less a welcome back party, I guess. But at the moment, it's more about let's get our teams in, let's get them in safely, and let's get these games played. And then once we know that we're all safe and we're all COVID secure, then we'll start looking at getting dates in the diaries and celebrating what we've missed, I suppose, the last year. So we're trying to be a bit cautious, I suppose, because it's the same as anything. If everybody rushes out and then we'll have another spike, we're just sort of back in square one, really. So keep your eyes on the Facebook page, really, and there's any key events. But yeah, so I think we've got one in the back end of the summer, but that's about it.
Oh, fantastic! I say it'd be good just to get the football back out again. Why not get the guys back out playing football on the pitch?
Yeah, well, that's it. Do you know what I can't wait for is, and which I really enjoy it, is I've got a young daughter, so going to the club on a Saturday morning, because she doesn't particularly play football, but it's just nice to share some sort of moment with her. So going to the club, watching the teams playing, you've got your 9v9s on, you've got the mini soccer on at one side, just walking around, telling my daughter a little bit about the club, a little about what they're doing, about the playing, speaking to parents, speaking to some of the players, and then watching the over 40s come to play, because they play Saturday mornings, and then it's a case of like it's just a full mix. I just can't wait to be amongst it, and then it's a case of that, right, I need to get ready to play now. It's that buzz. I think that's what people are missing, is that buzz of just football and just bouncing around people and just interacting, and how did you get on? Well, we did well, but we could have done X, Y, and Z. Well, there's always next week. It's all right.
Yeah.
Who are you playing today? Oh, we're playing X. So, well, good luck. All right, cheers. I'm gonna need it. I didn't do any runs this week. I didn't do any training. Do you know what I mean? It's just that full thing. You know what I mean? Then going into the club and speaking to the guys in the club room. Because you've always got your locals, who come again. They'll come down, support the club as from the local area, which is great. And I'm missing. You can go into the club room at a certain time of the day, and you know exactly who's there. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty about the club. You can go in, know who's going to be there, and say, all right, I'm going to go chat to him today, or I know he'll be in, so I'll go now. Do you know what I mean? It's just really nice, and that I think that's what every club's missing. You know what I mean? It's just that interaction with its members, and because Zoom's great, you know, and things like this are great, but there's nothing like that physical interaction. And roll on Saturdays again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so hopefully it's all coming back, and we can enjoy all those great moments again moving forward as well, which is what it's all about. Well, I mean, thank you very much, Jamie, for coming on. I know you sort of was a late sort of replacement, wasn't you? At the last minute, you were called up.
So it's a bit unfortunate. Obviously, Gareth got himself engaged from the first team, but because I know you wanted to chat more about the first team, because again, you know, about our development is very much about supporting that development around the senior section, you know, and that's what I know what Gareth was keen to chat about, you know, about because he's got a 5-year plan in his head of saying, well, actually, this is where I want the club to go in terms of the senior section, which is, again, it's a very ambitious one, but a really realistic one as well, which is great. But it's about attracting sort of players that are wanting to develop with the club, you know, not just about sort of players who are just going to come for a season and bounce off to the next club. It's just about players who actually who buy into the 5-year plan, and say, actually, this club's going somewhere. This club's great, and that's what it's about. You know what I mean? This club is great. Rutherford is great, and people just need to be in it to actually realise it and just appreciate it, really.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll say thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. I say we'll stay in touch, and say if people want to obviously get in touch with you regarding those particular roles that you've got going, and obviously contact you on Facebook will be the best way for that. And I say we'll maybe catch up again later on once the football's up and running again. Yeah,
it would be good. Yeah, like you say, it'd be good to get thoughts at the end of the season or the end of June and say, right, how did things go in the end?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and a bit of a reflective account, really. But yeah, that would be really good.
Yeah, we'll have to arrange that as well. So yeah, brilliant. Well, I'll say thanks for coming on, and I'll say we'll speak again soon.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard.
So thanks to Jason there for joining the channel. If you're interested in any of those development roles that he mentioned there, please contact the club on Facebook. There is a link down in the description of the video. If you like what I'm doing, please give this video a like. Please subscribe to the channel as well. I've got a lot more similar videos coming up over the next couple of weeks as we head towards the restart of grassroots football, and I will be back out filming games as well for highlights. So if you'd like your club featured, please get in touch with the details on the screen. If you'd like to be involved in one of these interviews to promote your club as well, the same thing, please contact me on social media or via the website as well. And in the meantime, of course, stay tuned to the channel. A lot more coming up. Please like and subscribe. This is North East Football Media.